Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online Regulation D VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be featuring the Fissure Dondozo team that made it to the top 32 of the 2023 World Championships. This is one of the bulkiest teams to come out of the Regulation D format. You've got Grimmsnarl to set up screens, as well as a lot of setup like Quiver Dance Volcarona, Curse Dondozo, as well as Mind Cresselia. I commentated one of these sets featuring this team at Worlds, and it was one of the craziest sets I've ever commentated in my life, so I'll link that VOD down in the description below. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, would really appreciate it if you consider leaving a like on the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Before we get started, today's video is sponsored by Opera GX, a customizable internet browser designed for gamers. I started using it because I just love the aesthetic of the browser in general, but it also has a lot of cool features in addition to its aesthetics. For example, the GX Corner is a built-in store within the browser that constantly shows you new game releases and deals. I personally used it to pick up a couple of free-to-play games that I'd never heard of before. The GX Corner updates constantly, making it a convenient stop for anyone interested in trying out new games. To make your browser even more appealing, the GX Store offers tons of mods that you can mix and match with. These mods allow you to have sounds when you open and close tabs, play background music, have keyboard sounds when you type within the browser, and they offer all kinds of different wallpapers and themes. Finally, it's really easy to switch over from another browser to Opera. You can quickly import all of your bookmarks and settings from other internet browsers, and everything will show up within a matter of seconds. Those are just some of the features that Opera GX offers, but it is an awesome internet browser, so if you're interested, check out the link down in the description below to download it for free. Thanks once again to Opera GX for sponsoring today's video. Breaking things down, as always, rental, pace, and team creator are linked down in the description below, and question of the day, I want to know what's one Pokemon that you think deserves a one-hit KO move after using Fissure Dondozo. This team finished 17th at the 2023 World Championships, and it is very different from most of the teams that have succeeded in this format. By the way, there are two rental codes. The first one is the one that I'll be using in this episode, and the second is just one slight modification of Grimmsnarl. It has Spirit Break over Sucker Punch, and that's to improve your matchup against Dark Urshifu, which the original team creator said gave him a lot of trouble at the World Championships this year. So, yeah. The first Pokemon I actually want to talk about is Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is so essential to this team because it's going to set up Reflect and Light Screen, and you've got Light Clay. And the idea is that this is just a team with so much bulk. You have very little investment in attack or special attack on average, and you can further increase your stats by using moves like Calm Mind on Cresselia, Quiver Dance on Volcarona, as well as Curse on Dondozo. So Grimmsnarl is really essential in setting up those screens and just allowing these Pokemon to survive for a longer period of time. Sucker Punch exists here mainly to one chip away at opposing Pokemon while also dealing pretty significant damage, valuable into things like Flutter Mane, for example, and can break Focus Sashes as well. Sometimes Grimmsnarl's in this awkward spot where it's like you set up screens, but then your opponent's just going to KO you and outspeed you, and so Sucker Punch is nice to get a little bit of chip damage before they're able to finish you off, and like I mentioned, Spirit Break exists on the other version of this team. The next Pokemon I want to talk about is Fissure Dondozo. This Pokemon had a huge performance on stream at the World Championships, round 7 in day 2. Winner moves on and makes the top 32. Loser is eliminated. And Fissure is a really interesting move on this team and on Dondozo specifically. One-hit knockout moves are not reliable generally in competitive Pokemon, but on this Dondozo, it makes a lot of sense. And the reason for that is because Dondozo is already really bulky. You combine that with screen support from Grimmsnarl. You combine that with grassy terrain recovery from Rillaboom as well as Leftovers, and Lunar Blessing from Cresselia, and Intimidate from Hisuian Arcanine. And the idea is that this Dondozo just stays on the field for a really long time. So the idea of using Fissure is that it gives you a chance to just get an immediate one-hit knockout that's really valuable into things that resist Wave Crash, Amoonguss or Water Urshifu, for example. Having Fissure as a way to just kind of be able to turn a suboptimal matchup into an immediate winning matchup is really nice. And on a Pokemon like Dondozo that's staying on the field for, 5-6 turns, it gives you more room to actually click Fissure multiple times. And yes, Fissure's accuracy is not that great, but your odds of hitting Fissure at least once when you use it twice or say 3 times are not terrible. So the idea is that I generally would not recommend clicking Fissure unless you think you absolutely need to go for it, but it's a move that can just instantly win you the game if you connect with it. Otherwise, generally, I'm more frequently just clicking Curse and Wave Crash with this Dondozo, and the idea is that it's difficult to knock out, it stays on the field for a really long time, and after just a single Curse booster or 2, Wave Crash just does so much damage. Dondozo is not the only Pokemon that can set up on this team, though, as you have the Calm Mind on Cresselia. Calm Mind plus Moonblast plus Fairy Terra can just really surprise opponents and deal pretty significant damage. Rocky Helmet exists because you really need counters to Water Urshifu. And this team certainly has a lot. You've got the Rocky Helmet here, the Water Terra plus the Flame Body on Volcarona, the Rillaboom as well as the Dondozo. And so a lot of different ways you can get around Surging Strikes. And Rocky Helmet on this just makes it so that your matchup into Urshifu is much better. Lunar Blessing is such a key move on this Cresselia. Most Cresselias run it, but I think this team utilizes it so well. And the idea is like, it's just really difficult to get knockouts against this team because of the amount of bulk that exists. If you've like set up grassy terrain and you're getting Lunar Blessing recovery, plus you combine the fact that you've got leftovers on Dondozo as well as Healing Berries on Volcarona and Rillaboom, the team just sticks around for so long, and it is really difficult to deal with accordingly. Trick Room also exists on this team because the team is relatively slow. You don't have that much speed investment on most Pokemon. It's really Volcarona that even has a speed boosting nature, but even then, Volk's going to be slower than a fair amount of things. So Trick Room can help, but it's not like you necessarily always need to set it up because it's not like you're using the slowest Pokemon in the game. So be careful about that. I've had games where I set up Trick Room, but then my opponent has something that's really slow, like an Amoonguss, and that can give me a lot of trouble. Volcarona is the other Pokemon on this team that I can set up, and this is a Quiver Dance Citrus Berry set. As you see, this Volcarona also incredibly bulky, no special attack investment, it's nearly max HP and defense. Combine that with Citrus Berry and Water Terra, and suddenly your matchup into something like Urshifu is a lot better than normally your opponents would anticipate. Quiver Dance is just a nice move to, be able to set up. Really valuable, especially against more passive Pokemon. And Giga Drain is often run on Volcarona, but this set just has Bug Buzz to take advantage of the same type attack bonus, since Giga Drain's not really doing that much damage anyway. And with this team, you have recovery outside of Volcarona because you've got the Grassy Terrain as well as the Lunar Blessing and Citrus Berry on this as well. To round things out, you've got Rillaboom. This Rillaboom is really cool because it's got Worry Seed. Now, the idea behind Worry Seed is that you can use it to wake your own Pokemon up because Worry Seed will give a Pokemon insomnia. So you can self-Worry Seed into something that's been spored by an Amoonguss and immediately wake up from Spore, which I think is such a cool tech that I'd never seen before. In addition, you can use Worry Seed to just get rid of your opponent's abilities, and that can be valuable as well. So it's not used just to beat Amoonguss and wake up, it's also used to disrupt your opponent potentially. This set does not have an Assault Vest because you, of course, really do want to run the Worry Seed. So Figgy Berry is used instead, and with the amount of bulk that you have plus the screens, it's very difficult for your opponents to actually not end up activating that Figgy Berry. So that's really critical. Hisuian Arcanine is the last one, and this is kind of the biggest damage dealer immediately. For most of the other team, it takes a little bit of time to get going because you need to set up, but for Hisuian Arcanine, you just bring it out and start dealing damage with it. This is a very bulky Hisuian Arcanine set, near max HP and special defense, but even just with Adamant 44 attack EVs, you still do so much damage, and generally good coverage between Flare Blitz, Rock Slide, Extreme Speed, and Terra Blast. When using this team, I'd say I generally look towards first seeing if I can just set up screens with Grimmsnarl. Do they have any answers for Grimm? The main answers would be, for example, a Fake Out user plus something like an immediately knock out Grimmsnarl, like Flutter Mane, for example. And if the answer is no, then I often will just default to Grimm, and I'll often pair it with one of Dondozo, Volcarona, or Cresselia and try to just get set up. Rillaboom with any of the setup users, very valuable as well. And I think you could really go with like Hisuian Arcanine plus any of the setup users as well. So this team is really flexible in terms of lead combinations. It's more just figuring out what Pokemon do I want to prioritize in terms of setting up, and where is the damage really going to come from. If I'm prioritizing Hisuian Arcanine, how do I make sure I can actually just get big knockouts with it as quickly as possible? And for the other Pokemon, how can I feel confident on staying on the field with this one Pokemon for a long period of time? And what is the main win condition? What I'm playing towards, is it just setting up with this one Pokemon, or is it baiting out a Terra, using one of my other Pokemon to deal with it and go from there? A lot of things to think about when using this team. But yeah, those are just some thoughts. Now let's get into some weaknesses. In terms of weaknesses, the first thing that I want to call out is that this is an ultra bulky team. Games will go on for a long period of time, so you're generally more vulnerable to bad luck. Specifically, critical hits can be very annoying for this team. And obviously, Urshifu exists in the form, and those are able to get guaranteed critical hits. Water Urshifu, not too much of a problem for this team, given Cresselia with Rocky Helmet, the Flame Body plus Water Terra Volk, as well as Dondozo and Rillaboom resisting Surging Strikes, and Grass Terra on Hisuian Arcanine. That being said, if you don't time things well, you don't use your Terra correctly, a Water Terra Urshifu in rain, for example, can still really hurt. So keep Terra in mind in particular when facing against Urshifu. Dark Urshifu, on average, a little bit harder for this team to go up against, which is why the team creator switched up Sucker Punch for Spirit Break. But you're going to have to be really careful against Dark Urshifu. I think your best answer really is going to be using Cresselia for it with that Fairy Terra, or the Grimmsnarl with Spirit Break on the newer version of the team. So you can deal with these Pokemon, but they're still hard to play against. And critical hits aren't just exclusive to Urshifu. I've had a lot of games where I just get crit after setting up a screen immediately, and a Pokemon that should survive with substantial health at the end of the the turn ends up just fainting instead, that can really snowball things out of control. I think when you use this team, you also have to keep in mind where the damage is coming from, because none of these Pokemon, other than maybe Hisuian Arcanine and Rillaboom occasionally, will be getting big immediate knockouts. Fissure Dondozo being the other one, obviously, but that one's a little bit less reliable. And so point being, like, your Pokemon are going to stay on the field for a really long time. You're slowly chip away at your opponent's end, and when using this team, you really have to ask, okay, how am I going to deal enough damage to actually win the game? And I've also lost games where I just lose, like, what I think is the primary carry of the team. My opponents aggressively double up onto it quicker than I expected to, and I think also with this team, you can get baited into thinking it's safe to set up, go for a Calm Mind, Quiver Dance, or a Curse, and then your opponent just deals like over half your health to that one Pokemon, putting you at immediate danger going into the subsequent turn. I think that's something to think about as well. And I've also struggled a bunch against opposing teams that have setup that can set up faster than our pace. For example, Nasty Plot, Defensive Terra, Golden Go can be scary. I think on average, just Pokemon that can boost their stats really quickly and deal with you can also be challenging. The nice thing about that is that you do have the Unaware on Dondozo, so at least doesn't mean that you just get completely swept by opposing setup. But opposing setup plus something like a Moongus is something that I've found has been a little bit scary to go up against. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for a quick breakdown. Now, let's get into these games. Okay, Flutter, Chi-Yu, Tornadus, Landorus, Golden Go, and a Moongus. A lot of scary things here. I think, like, there's just so many strong leads by my opponent. It's going to be hard to predict exactly what lead they go with. Golden Go in particular is scary. Against Golden Go, I generally leverage the Dondozo. This honestly could be a Grimmsnarl, Hisuian Arcanine lead, because, like, I set up a screen and just apply pressure with Hisuian Arcanine, and Arcanine's amazing into Tornadus. I just want all of our Pokemon. Maybe I don't bring Cress. Like, Cress is really weak into Golden Go and Moongus. I would mainly want it to set up Trick Room. So if I don't bring Cress, it's some of these in the bottom. Maybe it's just Dondozo and Volk. I think Volk is interesting because it could Water Terra, and then they don't have really any ways to hit it for super effective, other than like a random grass type attack from the Amoonguss. And like, it could Quiver Dance up here. Cresselia does often feel like a glue for this team. I think my hesitance in bringing it is it can get spored by Amoonguss. It's walled by Golden Go. I would basically have to Terra in front of Flutter and Chi-Yu. And they might have Taunt on Tornadus. Even with all of those, I think you could still make the argument for Cress. I just don't feel confident enough with it. Landorus, Golden Go. Okay. Yep. So they get Intimidate off first, which isn't shocking. The Arcanine on this team has very little speed investment. Could see this going for a defensive Terra. I think I want to switch into Dondozo. Light Screen and go to Dozo. This is a nice lead by them. I was hoping to like bait out a Tornadus lead, but we don't see it here. Oh, Golden Go protects. Okay, I'm happy to see that. It's already a good start. Maybe U-turn. But the fact that I get a free Light Screen to start immediately is already really good in my opinion. Okay, they just tried Earthquake. That makes sense. But you're intimidated, so it shouldn't do that much. That is Choice Band. That is interesting in itself, right? Reflect here. I know you're banded. So if you want to EQ again, you're going to have to either Flying Terra this or switch it out. I'm worried about Flying Terra Nasty Plot coming out of this turn, personally. If that's actually the case, I'm going to be in pretty bad shape, I think. Personally, I want to Reflect and Curse here. Lander switches out. Okay. That works. Into a Moongus. It's an awkward battle to dance around right now because, like, I don't have Rillaboom. Okay, they just click Make It Rain. That's actually great because it's a free switch in now for me into The question is, do I want to go into Arcanine or do I want to go into the Volcarona? Because Volcarona can start Quiver Dancing. I think I go into Volk. I got both screens up. Do I? If I go into Arc, like, this comes out and just pressures Heat Wave. And I think with this, it's likely my opponent, like, switches out Golden Go into, say, Landorus. Like, I want to protect and Wave Crash into Golden Go right now, I think. It's like, should I have brought a Moongus in this matchup then? Maybe. Or, sorry, Rillaboom. It wouldn't even do that much here other than just being able to Worry Seed. Tough. I'm not sure. But at least I know your choice band on Landorus. How good would Cress have been here? Like, not that great, right? Because it's like, even if I call mine up, I don't do anything into a Moongus or Golden Go. Okay, we bait out a Terra instead, which is also fine. Probably Water Terra Moongus. Yep. Okay. This is where if we were Grass Terra on Volk, it'd be amazing, because I could just Grass Terra, start Quiver Dancing. But I think getting a Terra out in general is still valuable here, so I'm happy to see that. Yeah, your nasty plot. Ugh. Which is fine for Dondozo because we're unaware. So this turn at least works out. I get my Wave Crash off. It's a ton of damage. Yeah, leftovers. So this next turn, you would think they just go for a Protect with Golden Go. Right? And then Spore into Volk. I can't really stop the Spore. So I think what I'll do is just capitalize off this by going for a Quiver Dance. And Fissure into Amoonguss. I think if I get the Quiver Dance off and the Fissure connects... I mean, I'm going to get the Quiver Dance off. But if the Fissure connects... Yep, so they protect. This is the most I can do to capitalize off things. I could go for maybe a target onto the Amoonguss, but might as well get a free boost while I can. Okay, so they should be putting us to sleep on Volk. Yep. Now it's a question of whether or not I can wake up quickly enough. Like, Rillaboom with Worry Seed would have been good here, but it just didn't feel good into anything else my opponent had. Fissure is going to miss, unfortunately. That would have been an amazing time to connect. If there was ever a time for an immediate Fissure to hit, that would have been it. But it's okay. Should Spore now, but I could see them Pollen Puffing into Golden Go. You're only at +1, and I have Light Screen up. So I'm happy to just click Heat Wave here, burn a turn of sleep. I honestly don't mind fishing for Fissure onto Amoonguss, because it's just our best way of dealing with this Pokemon. Right, it's like I'm not going to deal that much damage with it in the long run. I could Wave Crash into Golden Go here as well, but I think it's just like... Every time I click it, I give myself the opportunity to potentially just knock out Amoonguss immediately. Okay, they nasty plot again. I see what they're going for. They're just hoping Volk stays asleep for a longer period. They have Clear Smog. Okay. Fissure does connect! Nice. Okay. That's the thing about using Fissure, right? When you use it 2 times... It's basically a coin flip for one of the 2 Fissures, at least, connecting. Cool. So now you can bring out the Landorus. This is going to be a close finish, but we got the Fissure to connect when we needed to, which was awesome. Yep, so there's Landorus coming back out. Could just protect Rock Slide. I don't think you're going to lock yourself into Earthquake right now, is the thing. +3 special attack. We have Reflect and Light Screen. It makes the most sense to just Rock Slide, in my opinion. Like, I think I want to Terra here, Quiver Dance. Wave Crash into Landorus. Because I could see Golden Go protecting this turn is the thing. It's a question of how quickly Volk wakes up now as well. Yeah, the Water Terra Amoonguss was just a big problem for me in this one, and Nasty Plot. I think, like, setup in general is just hard for this team to go up against if they can outpace in terms of setup. Okay, we don't manage to get a move off there. They're going to Rock Slide. It's not really too much. And they Shadow Ball into Dozo, but this is unaware Dozo, so those boosts do not matter against us here. And we get Wave Crash off, okay. It's huge damage. Gosh, what a crazy game. Yeah, I mean, if Volk just wakes up here, I think we just win. So I'm going to click Heat Wave here, I think, instead of Quiver Dancing. Yeah, because we're running out of turns of Light Screen. Heat Wave. I think I don't mind just Heat Wave Wave Crash here. Go for the knockout on a Landers, because I know you can't protect and you're choiced. I should survive a Rock Slide from Lando. And I should survive Rock Slide plus Make It Rain. Ah, we do stay asleep. Okay. So there's Rock Slide. Didn't activate my Citrus. Ooh. Okay, but they just target down Dondozo. I think that's fine then, right? This is a crazy game. But with Terra already used on their end. So now bring out Arcanine. I don't know how fast their Golden goes relative to us is the other question. And, like, what do we think their final Pokemon is going to be? I'm worried about it being Fluttermane, because, like, I could click, Extreme Speed right now onto this. If I were my opponent, I'd switch Landorus out right now into their final Pokemon and protect this. And I'm gonna make that read. I'm gonna Quiver Dance here and then Flare Blitz into Landorus. Okay, so far so good. Show me Flutter. Yep. Now show me Golden Go Protect. Nice. Let's go. Now we just need to hit our Heat Waves. I think the only thing is I don't know who's faster between the Hisuian Arcanine and the Golden Go, but the Arcanine here has basically no speed investment. Flare Blitz crits the KO Flutter, but I don't think that mattered. Yeah, like, it was really tempting to lock into Extreme Speed there, or Flare Blitz into the Golden Go slot, but we knew Volcarona was going to wake up because I had taken a 3-turn sleep. Oh my gosh, what a crazy game. I think we should be in excellent shape now, but it's still not 100% over because Light Screen wears off. It's like, if I think Golden Go is going to be slower than Arcanine, I could just Bug Buzz Landorus Flare Blitz. Because we know it's Choice Band on the Landorus. I just don't know. Like, Heat Wave just wins us the game immediately, but I guess the thing is, do we think a +3 Make It Rain KOs this? No way, right? So maybe it is fine to just Bug Buzz into Landorus here. And Flare Blitz. I just like, we could get crit. I guess my other question is, does Bug Buzz even knock out Landorus from that range? We don't really have any special attack investment. That would be a disaster if it survived, so... Okay, I will just Heat Wave Flare Blitz here. Okay, Heat Wave double connects. Nice. It's one of those where it's like, okay, it's an 81% chance to win the game outright because of Heat Wave, right? Given this, that they didn't protect either Pokemon, but we could miss Heat Wave there. And... Yeah, I actually want to quickly do the damage calc on Bug Buzz into Landorus. Like, this Volcarona has literally no special attack investment at all. So I was like, if there's any world in which Landorus survives that, that's really bad for us. But that was a crazy game. Like, from dealing with the Amoonguss, missing the first Fissure, but connecting on the second one, 3-turn sleep on Volcarona, them having Clear Smog on Amoonguss as well. Oh my gosh. And then, like, reading the Flutter Mane switching in for the Landorus. That game had everything. So, wow. So a couple quick notes about that endgame. The Bug Buzz definitely would have knocked out Landorus. I think I just really got overly paranoid about it missing the KO, and I was like, that would be such a silly way to lose if I Bug Buzz that actually survives, and I just like lose the game off that immediately. But Landorus was really low. I think in my head, I'm just so used to like Assault Vest Landorus damage calcs, but we knew it was choice banded, right? So yeah, Bug Buzz would have gotten that knockout. That would have secured the KO onto Landorus to make sure it doesn't get to move. The thing is, like, Golden Go obviously was fairly boosted, but then you, as my opponent, have to make the decision, do I Shadow Ball or do I make it rain? I think in my head, what I was paranoid about was that they click Shadow Ball into Volcarona, get the one-hit knockout onto that, and Arcanine is slower than Golden Go and also does not get the one-hit KO onto them because they're super defensive. Then I take a lot of recoil, and then they can outpace me and get the win the next turn. So that endgame I thought was interesting because it's one of those where it's like, okay, I click Heat Wave and that can just basically win me the game, but there is some RNG involved in it. Or I can like think of another scenario, which is Bug Buzz onto the Landorus, Flare Blitz onto the Golden Go. But because I wasn't sure how fast their Golden Go was, we knew Volcarona was faster than it, but this Arcanine has very little speed investment. That being said, Golden Go actually still needs more than 72 speed EVs to outspeed Hisuian Arcanine. So I think there was a very good chance we actually were just faster than them, given that they're this bulky, nasty plot set. But I wasn't sure, and I was like, it would feel really bad to lose if I like try to make this one play to get around accuracy, but then they just end up being faster or having a lot of bulk as well. I guess the main thing to think about is like, how do you survive Flare Blitz but also outpace Hisuian Arcanine, right? That would imply that you have a ton of bulk but also a ton of speed EVs, and so yeah, like, can they even distribute enough there? That being said, Nasty Plot Golden Go like can choose to just run like no special attack investment because you're clicking Nasty Plot a bunch. So yeah, either way, that was a crazy game. Whoa. Garchomp, Thundurus, Bundle, Iron Hands, Enamorus, and Farigiraf. A lot of cool things going on here. Bundle's not very meta anymore, nor is Garchomp. And the Enamorus in particular is interesting. So probably have to worry about Thundurus and Enamorus as a combo. Calm Mind Crest looks really interesting here. Normally, I would default towards Grim Crest, but I'm actually thinking about Rillaboom Crest. To fake out Thundurus turn 1 in Calm Mind or Trick Room. Because I think a single move with Crest gives us a huge advantage in this one. Dozo. Bad Grimmsnarl is really niche, but I think he could make some sense here. Like, I think Calm Mind Crest can 1v4 this kind of team if I support it properly. I'm going to try Back Grim. It's pretty unconventional, but the idea behind it is, like, I want to play a very Cresselia-centric game. You know, in retrospect, I think Arcanine's a better pick because I think Thundurus is a focal point for their team, and I think Thundurus carrying Eerie Impulse here, given Enamorus, is very likely. So it probably would have been smarter to figure out ways to eliminate Thundurus early on. So they do go with Thundurus and Enamorus, which makes total sense. The idea I had here was just fake out Thundurus turn 1. In Trick Room. And then we'll go from there. But I think like Hisuian Arcanine as a lead here could have been pretty cool. Could have even gone Volcarona. But in my idea, actually, yeah, the more I think about it, the more I realize my priority should have been to eliminate Thundurus in turns 1 and 2 of the game, and then start setting up after that. But we'll see. If they're Ghost Hair, Thundurus, or Covert Cloak, I think turn 1 also becomes really interesting. But Enamorus switches, probably into Farigiraf. Oh, no, they go into hands. Okay. I was thinking Farigiraf just to block the fake out. Cool. That works for me. Grim gets set up. I want to just eliminate Thundurus ASAP right now. I don't mind going for Calm Mind on with this, and then just Woodhammer onto Thundurus. The idea behind Calm Mind is just to apply a little bit more pressure. Ooh! Manual Electric Terrain from Thundurus. That's cool. That is really cool because that gives you Photosynthesis on Iron Hands. I wouldn't be surprised if they had like an Ice Punch here too. Wow. Yo! That was so sick. What? I love that. I mean, I don't love it for me. I love it for my opponent. But what? Electric Terrain Swords Dance Hands. That's going to be really hard for me to beat now. Oh. Wow. I think this might legitimately sweep me. That was so much damage like coming out immediately. Wow. Wow. Like, I want to Terra just Moonblast here. And Woodhammer, but like, I don't even know if that KOs. Wow, that is I've not seen that. Like, Electric Terrain from Thundurus plus Swords Dance attack Photosynthesis hands. That was like the perfect turn for my opponent. That was so cool. Kudos to them. Yep, and they had Eerie Impulse. Like, how should I have approached this game? I just didn't really think about Swords Dance hands, quite frankly. Oh my gosh, and that just one-shots us. Yeah. I don't really see a way to win this. Did nothing. This hands clears our team. Because, like, in order to have beaten it, I would have needed to bring out Arcanine in this matchup as well as Grimmsnarl. The main thing is that, like, I can't deal with Thundurus dropping my stats as well as Iron Hands boosting its stats as quickly as it does. I guess I can bring out at least Dondozo here. Yeah, I'm not going to give up. And, like, bait the attacks into Dondozo. So, like, what I'm going to do here is now pivot Cress out into Grimmsnarl, protect with Dozo, and then I can go for something like Parting Shot. I could Parting Shot plus Curse, honestly, but yeah, I think this game is nearly unwinnable, but I'm still going to try. Wow, that's so cool. Like, losing to something like this, I really don't mind. And honestly, I did not realize how good Swords Dance Iron Hands under Trick Room would be against us. Because, like, it outpaces our Pokemon under Trick Room. The Thundurus is honestly a pretty major nuisance as well, which is why I was saying I should have brought Arcanine. Okay, so the Eerie Impulse. Thunder Punch, yeah. Yeah, it's going to take some dancing to get around this right now. I think, though, because I have Unaware, I'm happy to Reflect this turn and Curse. Do I even Curse? This honestly feels like a Hail Mary situation with Fissure. I think hitting Fissure actually instantly brings me back into the game, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm so far behind that I'll take the 30% chance to try to claw back into things. This is so cool. Kudos, kudos, kudos. Okay, we survive. Fissure doesn't hit. But yeah, I think that was the right play to go for. I think hitting that actually instantly brings us back into the battle. The reality is that the Thunderous enabling both hands and Enamorous here is not a combination I've really ever run into, and it is incredibly impressive. If I were to replay that, I just like didn't really think about Swords Dance Iron Hands, and I never would have considered Electric Terrain from Thunderous. I just love how well constructed my opponent's team is here. Like, they play this perfectly. I was confused by the hand switching immediately, and then after that, like, I was like, oh, this makes total sense. We don't even have, like, Spirit Break here. So now they get Scary Face onto me, so then you outpace me. And then Thunder Punch as well. Like, I guess I'll Parting Shot switch out into Crest. The game is not over yet, so I don't want to give up, but I am in a huge hole right now. Scary Face, Eerie Impulse, Electric Terrain, Thunderous. So it probably doesn't have Taunt. Like, you'd want to run one offensive attack, I would imagine. I also thought about just staying in and clicking Fissure there again, because it looks like they did not click Scary Face, and they're just attacking with Thunderous, so this also probably just loses me the game. But yeah, I did not realize how good Swords Dance Iron Hands is in particular against what we have. It's excellent, honestly. We do survive Wild Bolt, but just with the Sliver. Nicely played. Yeah, this is why I think I needed to eliminate Thunderous. We knew it was going to have Eerie Impulse in this matchup, right? So, given the Enamorous, because the whole combo is Thunderous enabling Enamorous. So if I were to replay this game, I would definitely bring Hisu and Arcanine. I would drop Rillaboom. I think the Rillaboom lead just didn't make that much sense. It's like, yeah, I get the Fake Out on a Thunderous turn 1, and I thought Trick Room would be a good approach in this one. But, like, because of Thunderous having Eerie Impulse, my game plan was just not solid in this game. And I was talking about that immediately as we got into things, you know? Yeah, this game's over, honestly, with Eerie Impulse. This was just masterfully played. Like, Electric Terrain manually from Thunderous into plus Swords Dance Hands is a combo I never would have anticipated in Team Preview. So, I wasn't even adequately prepared, in my opinion, for Thunderous and Enamorous, let alone Thunderous plus the Iron Hands. So, if I were to replay this game, I think I lead Hisu and Arcanine for sure. I think I go, like, Grim Arcanine or Crest Arcanine, and I use Crest to, like, bait out stuff away from Arcanine. It's probably Grim Arcanine. I think Grim Arcanine, Light Screen turn 1, Choice Band Flare Blitz immediately into Thunderous is decently strong. The problem is I'm not even sure that KOs Thunderous, because Thunderous is just a very bulky Pokemon. I could Rock Slide as well. But I think I essentially need to first eliminate Thunderous and then play the game from there. The problem is I think Swords Dance Hands outtrades us so quickly, and they can heal back with Drain Punch. My best answer into Swords Dance Hands, really my only answers are Calm Mind Crest, hitting a Fissure with Dondozo, or Arcanine going for Flare Blitz, for example. But yeah, losing a game like that is like, I don't mind, because I think my opponent just very cleanly outplayed me throughout the entire match, and they had a very cool strategy. Like, Thunderous and Enamorous Iron Hands, that is not a trio I fought against, and I think they executed it basically to perfection. So, yeah, take a bow, whoever my opponent was. That was awesome. That was really, really cool. Okay, we've got Chien-Pao, Hisuian Arcanine, Tornadus, Urshifu, Flutter, and Rillaboom. This looks like the team that Hirofumi Kimura used to get top 32 at the World Championships. It featured either this exact team or a version of it on the channel pretty recently, and I think it's one of the best teams in the format right now, so I'll link it down in the description below if you want to check it out. The main thing to note in this matchup is that my opponent has the Urshifu, so they're going to be able to crit through, which is not very good for us using Reflect. They also have Fake Out, so if they wanted to deny us Grimmsnarl setting up screens, you could lead something like Rillaboom plus the Flutter main, Rillaboom plus Urshifu, for example. So I think Water Terra Volcarona with Quiver Dance is really valuable here. I think Cresselia with Rocky Helmet also really valuable. I think the main thing I'm trying to debate right now is who I actually don't bring into the battle. All of our Pokemon are decent. I think I don't like Rillaboom a lot. So I'm okay going with Grimmsnarl, Volcarona, Dondozo, Cresselia. I do think you can make a very good argument for Hisuian Arcanine in this matchup the more I think about it. I think bringing it over one of Dondozo or Cresselia makes sense. Mainly because my opponent's team is fairly physical with Rillaboom, Chien-Pao. I think the main thing about Hisuian Arcanine is that I would probably want to Terra it. Otherwise, I kind of just lose to the Urshifu, but I also want to Terra Volcarona here. They're going to go with Flutter and Rillaboom. Okay. That makes sense. So this turn one's already pretty interesting. Like, do you go for Fake Out onto the Grimmsnarl? Because I could Ghost Terra to get around that. I definitely want to Quiver Dance here with the Volk. Yeah, I'm thinking about switching here. I could actually go into Dondozo just as like a fairly tanky Pokemon. I could see them, however, clicking Fake Out onto Volcarona. I would just really like to save my Water or Terra for this, ideally, I think. So, okay. I'll go for Light Screen and Quiver Dance here. Oh! Even better. And they're going to bring out Hisuian Arcanine. Okay, that makes sense. So Dondozo is going to be a great switch in the subsequent turn. I could also go like Parting Shot, Terra, Heat Wave. Yep, and then go for Moonblast. Okay. I think it's also fine to probably just set up Reflect right now. Yeah, like protect this turn, set up Reflect, and then go from there. Reflect, protect. And then after this turn, what do I want to do? I can go out into the Cresselia or Dondozo. I can Terra the Volcarona and then play the game from there. They're actually going to commit a Terra here, which is interesting. Into what? Arcanine? Oh, wow. I did not expect that. Okay. Huh. I see. So they're Choice Band Arcanine if I had to guess, and they're going to go for Extreme Speed onto the Grimmsnarl slot. Which is really smart. That would deny me Reflect. Oh, but they targeted Volcarona. Okay. That's going to put them in really bad shape, I think. Especially because, like, I'm going to get Reflect up, and this Volcarona is near max HP, max defense. So Extreme Speed's definitely not KOing me. And now Heat Wave just does more damage to your Arcanine. So, yeah. The fact that they let me set up Reflect is huge. Like, I would not have expected to get both screens up, given that they had Rillaboom, Flutter Lead, and a normal Terra Extreme Speed here. I could go out into Cresselia. The idea behind Cresselia is that I can just go for Lunar Blessing, which is pretty sweet. I think Dondozo is also okay, though. Steel Terra to this looks really good right now. Okay. I actually like Cresselia a little bit more here. Mainly because I think with Grassy Terrain up, Citrus Berry up, and Lunar Blessing, Volcarona can just put in so much work. So I think here I'm happy to click Lunar Blessing and then just Heat Wave. I'm also contemplating going for a second Quiver Dance. I think that's also an interesting option. But I think we're in a good position to just start dealing damage. So Flutter switches. I would expect maybe Urshifu. But it's Rillaboom. Okay, so like Volcarona is so well positioned right now. You go for Extreme Speed. Yep. Onto Volk. Oh my gosh, with Reflect, that doesn't even do half. Wow. And Heat Wave just gets the one hit. It's a critical hit onto the Rillaboom. Assuming they're Assault Vest, then I would think maybe they can survive that since this Volcarona doesn't actually have special attack investment. But that's what this team does so well, right? You have so many Pokemon that can set up. Volcarona being one, Dondozo being a second, Cresselia being a third. And yeah, with screens here, they just can't really deal too much damage to us. So if they didn't bring Water Urshifu, this game already feels like it's over. But even with Water Urshifu, which does make an appearance here, I can now just Terra my Volcarona. Yeah, and like Flame Body is just the perfect combo here. So we can Terra Volcarona. We know it's Flutter in the back. Contemplating whether or not I want to just go for Trick Room immediately, but I think it's personally fine to just go for a Calm Mind this turn, Terra, and then Heat Wave. Okay, Arcanine switches, which makes sense. You realize Extreme Speed's just not doing much damage at this point. But the Calm Mind now in Cresselia means Moonblast is also doing pretty significant damage, and if you go Surging Strikes into Volcarona, well, we're max HP, max defense, basically, so you're not going to do that much damage, plus I have Citrus Berry, plus there's the Flame Body potentially being activated. And the odds of Flame Body activating are not terrible either, right? Okay, we are going to miss Heat Wave here onto Urshifu, but that's fine. Hits the Flutter, does just under half. There's Surging Strikes. Yep. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits, and that does not even bring us to our Citrus Berry range, which is kind of crazy to think about. And there's Flame Body activating as well. So this is a Volcarona masterclass, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we get Calm Mind as well, so we are just super boosted right now. It's just really difficult for my opponent to kind of break through the amount of defense that I have right now. And with Urshifu being burnt, like the damage output from that's not very important at this point, so I'm happy to target around it. Felt like Specs Flutter main given the Moonblast. I'm happy to just Moonblast and Heat Wave here. Yeah, my opponent recognizes there's not much they can do. So Volcarona kind of 1v4 this matchup, but like the support from Grimmsnarl is pretty important, right? But you could just see like we had so much bulk on this Volcarona, and this is designed to beat a lot of these more physically oriented teams. So I think turn 1 in itself was huge. In this game, my opponent just let me set up both screens and didn't punish me for it. I think they were expecting me to expect them to just try to knock out Grimmsnarl, and they're like, oh, fake out plus like Moonblast on that is so obvious. You could go for a Terra, you could switch around. But in my head, I was like, you can't deny me Quiver Dance and Light Screen / Reflect simultaneously on turn 1. And I think as long as I get one of the two up, I'm already in pretty good shape. I think Dondozo was honestly a really good closer as well. And to me, I think what was really pivotal in this game was my opponent just trying to go all in with the normal Terra extreme speed. And yeah, like one, the Volcarona is so bulky that even if they had targeted Grim that turn, like we still wouldn't have taken that much damage from the extreme speeds in subsequent turns. But with them even letting me set up Reflect, Arcanine just became completely useless. And yeah, that's the fun thing about this Volcarona. It's so bulky, and with Water, Terra, and Flame Body, it's such a nice counter into Urshifu, which normally thinks it can just beat Volcarona very easily. So yeah, very, very happy to showcase what this Pokemon can do. Whoa, very interesting team. Indeedee, Armarouge, Urshifu, Baxcalibur, Torkoal, and Glimmora. So almost a very early meta team. This could have been used in Regulation or Series 1, just with Urshifu thrown on top of it. Okay. Well, I don't know what Urshifu it is, which is kind of scary. I think Calm Mind Cresselia looks really solid here. Might want to prioritize that. I think we can go like Grim, Cresselia for sure. The question is what I want to support with it. Volcarona looks pretty bad in this matchup. I feel like Rock Slide from Hisuian Arcanine just does a ton of damage here. Dozo is solid amongst the fire types. Rillaboom is interesting. It does give me terrain control and fake out support. I don't know if terrain control is really that important though, honestly. Okay, I'm going to go with Arcanine. I think Arcanine being able to just pressure with Choice Band Rock Slide looks pretty tempting here. But I do think Rillaboom might be a little bit more consistent. And the reason for that is because like Arcanine is 4 times weak to like Earth Power from Torkoal, for example. So yeah. But I'm glad that we get to... I think like Dondozo and Cresselia both will be really good in this matchup, and I'm glad we get to feature those. Alright, what Urshifu are you? Water. Okay, that's fine with me. I think the main thing to worry about is poison from Glimmora, but Lunar Blessing is a pretty effective solution into that. And Rocky Helmet here is so good. I personally don't mind just going for Light Screen turn 1. And Calm Mind. Yeah, I think Calm Mind Cresselia can 1v6 this team, honestly. Like, Indeedee, Armarouge, neither of those really scare me too much. They're going to commit the Terra here immediately. Onto Urshifu, sure. It's Water Terra. Okay. I think my main question then is, how much do you do if you're targeting Cresselia? You're going to take a lot of damage, obviously, in return. Urshifu is definitely the primary threat to us right now. And if we eliminate Urshifu, I think it just opens the door for Hisuian and Arcanine in this matchup as well. Okay, and they do target Crest. Beautiful. I actually think Trick Room was stronger on turn 1 here, by the way. Yeah, Calm Mind was tempting, but I think Trick Room is just objectively better, because then I would have been able to just Lunar Blessing next turn. We'll see if they doubled up onto Crest. They did, yeah. No poison, at least. Then I get Calm Mind off. Okay. So, I've got Sucker Punch right now into Urshifu. I can Sucker Punch Trick Room. Sucker Punch plus the Surging Strike should get the knockout onto the Urshifu. So, I don't mind this too much. Nice. They're just going to Strikes again. Yep. Okay, and you're going to faint here. So, honestly, the trade was worth it. The downside is I think Crest was such a good Pokemon in this matchup. And, you know, if they didn't target the Cresselia here, I'll actually get Trick Room up. Although, like, then the question is if they have Torkoal in the back, that's kind of awkward for me. But then I think Dondozo comes in and starts putting in work. So, did they Sludge Bomb into Cresselia again? Okay, they did. So, good prioritization by my opponent for sure. I think Trick Room turn 1 would have been stronger for me because then I would have been able to Lunar Blessing Sucker Punch turn 2. But I think this is still fine. Now that we've eliminated the Urshifu, I think Hisuian and Arcanine gets to come in very safely, which is great. They bring out Indeedee, which is fine. So that blocks Sucker Punch, but I'm okay with that. Set up Light Screen already. Reflect isn't really that valuable here. It would be helpful if Excalibur is my opponent's last one. Which I guess could be the case. I think one of the questions I have right now is who I want to Terra in this game, because I am weak to Earth Power right now. So I think swapping Grim out into Dondozo here is fine. And go for Terra. I think I'm okay going for Terra Rock Slide here. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to bring Hisuian and Arcanine out into this battle. I thought Rock Slide was just a pretty good attack into everything, especially now that Urshifu's eliminated. But yeah, I think even if I end up winning this game, I think I didn't utilize Cresselia to the best of its ability, but also to my opponent's credit, they recognize how annoying Cresselia was for their team to go up against. So the main thing would have been going for Trick Room over the Calm Mind on turn 1. Because I essentially kind of like wasted the Calm Mind. Oh wow, Helping Hand, okay. So they don't go for Trick Room, which makes sense. Helping Hand Sludge Bomb, but they target the Dondozo. It's also very fast Glamora. It outspeeds our Arcanine. Well, I say very fast. I guess it's not like the... Yeah, I was going to say, it's not like the Arcanine on our side really has that much speed investment, but that is not how I expected this turn to play out, that's for sure. The poison on Dondozo is annoying because it puts us on a timer, and now you can Helping Hand Sludge Bomb again into the Arcanine slot. But I think what I can do then is just Wave Crash and then switch out into Grimmsnarl. Yeah, I thought Glamora would be like no speed on their team, given that it looks like a Trick Room team. So the fact that they're faster is a little bit annoying for us here. Okay, great. They go for the Helping Hand play again. So if I clear Glamora, I'm feeling pretty good. Yep. They target Grim. Brings us down to 10. We get Wave Crash. Perfect. So I'll bring Arcanine back out. Dondozo's on a timer, but Arcanine can Flare Blitz. Yeah, Glamora is actually quite annoying for our team to deal with if you look at it, because I think Poison's really good into this team. And I think Glamora being able to hit Rillaboom, Grimmsnarl with super effective, threaten Earth Power onto Hisuian and Arcanine, that's also pretty scary. Grim faints, but that's perfect for us. Like, Grim surviving here actually would have been really bad because I can't really do anything with it other than, like, just protect and then sacrifice it, right? So I'm mainly curious what their final Pokemon is, but I get the Arcanine back out. It's Armarouge. Okay. Well, we're very specially invested on both Pokemon here. It's max HP, max special defense on Dondozo. So even if you go Helping Hand, Expanding Forest with Light Screen up, I'd expect to survive. I personally don't mind just clicking Wave Crash then and Rock Slide here. Okay, they go for Helping Hand. Yep. They're faster, but that's fine. It's interesting how much speed they actually have. Yeah, we survived with both. Perfect. Choice Band Rock Slide. Doesn't miss. And it was weak armor. Whoa. Well, fortunately for us, we ended up Wave Crashing that slot. You can see how bulky this team is, right? It's like we have all the EVs invested in all the right places. Dondozo in this game survives so many attacks. Helping Hand, Sludge Bomb, couple Poison Ticks. Expanding Force with Helping Hand support as well. And in the end, it's just hard for my opponent to break through the defenses that we have. But I will say the speeds in this game did not play out the way I expected it to. I thought like Armarouge and Glimmora would be slower because I was like, oh, their team looks like Trick Room, right? They have Torkoal on their team, but that's part of the thing of good team building. You like bait your opponent into thinking one thing in best of one when you don't actually have, and like the kind of EV investments your opponents anticipate. So yeah. To me, though, see, we ended up winning this game, but yeah, I think Cresselia was actually our best win condition because I think he can just stay on the field for practically forever, and it's like Indeedee, Armarouge, and Glimmora can't really deal very much to Cresselia, so my opponent did a really good job of identifying that as my main win condition, and even though we lost Cresselia early and didn't get value out of it, basically, other than trading with Urshifu, getting rid of Urshifu just meant I can play a more Hisuian Arcanine focused game, so yeah. I do think Rillaboom is an interesting consideration to bring in this match, but, I mean, Hisuian Arcanine actually carried that match more than anything. I thought it would be either Cresselia or Dondozo putting in more work, but because of the Helping Hand support, there was more offense than I had anticipated from their end, and Glimmora ended up being more of a problem. But you can see a lot of the other tools on this team coming out in this game, whether it be Cresselia just tanking these hits and forcing Urshifu. Like, my opponent had to Terra, right? Because if you don't Terra, you just do such little damage into Cresselia. So, like, baited out the Terra. We essentially traded Cresselia for Urshifu, which opens the game up for our Arcanine. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for joining me. This was a really fun episode, and I'm glad to feature so many of the different cool combinations on this team. I think definitely plays very differently from most of the other teams that we've seen succeed so far in Regulation D. So if you're looking for a slower paced bulky team that has a lot of setup potential and can survive so many different moves, would highly recommend this one. And I'm just glad that we got to at least feature the Fissure Dondozo once throughout this episode as well. So thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.